Welcome to the Vaughan Advice Givers podcast. I interview Vaughan business owners, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. Robert Caruso here, and my goal is to bring Vaughan residents the best advice from our community's brightest minds. This podcast is brought to you by the Value-Driven Approach to Sell Real Estate, a practical guide to protect yourself from real estate greed and bank an extra $30,000 in profit by thinking like the great Warren Buffett. For a free copy of this book, visit www.getafreebookforcharity.com. That's getafreebook4charity.com. Episode 18 is with Mike Pearlstein from Fusion Computing, an IT services company that started in 2008. Companies big and small all need help with IT. They are a full-service, one-stop shop for IT services, so if your business is using different companies for different IT needs, it might be a good idea to contact Mike to see if they can provide you with all the same services for not only a better price, but better service. Enjoy the interview. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Vaughan Advice Givers podcast. This is Robert Caruso. I'm here with Mike Pearlstein. Mike, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, perfect. So thank you for joining us. Before we talk about you professionally, maybe in a few minutes, maybe give me a little bit of your backstory. Where did you grow up? What did you enjoy doing in your spare time? Or what did you do before getting into your company, Fusion Computing is the name of your company. What would you do before you got into that?
Robert, I grew up in Midtown Toronto, in what's now the Yonge and Eglinton neighborhood. My parents were all lawyers, and I went to a Jewish day school, USDS, that's no longer around. After that, I went to Vaughan Road Collegiate, and then off to Guelph for undergrad for computer science, and Waterloo for software engineering for my master's degree. While I was doing my master's degree in Waterloo, I had to find a way to pay for school, and I basically walked up and down the main street in Waterloo, knocking on doors, trying to find work, saying, "Hey, let me be your IT provider." By the time I graduated school there with my master's degree, I had quite the business going. I had staff, and it wasn't just me, and it was a very difficult thing to sort of give up that business and move back to the city, but I had to do it to get married to my lovely wife, and we now have 2 young kids, and they are the light of my life.
That's good to hear. I think I hear them in the background there.
I'm sure you do.
It's all good. So how did you become an IT services company? Like, how did it all start for you?
So while I was in school, I was looking to make some cash to pay tuition and pay my living expenses. And really what that ended up being was sort of knocking door to door and asking who businesses were using for their IT services and kind of undercutting the competition. Over the course of about a year and a half, I had built up quite a client base in Waterloo. When I graduated and it was time to move back to Toronto, I sold that business and basically used the reputation as well as some of that cash to start up what's now Fusion Computing in Toronto.
Okay. And obviously you do help people in the Vaughan area. I mean, this is Vaughan Advice Givers, and you're obviously mobile to, any area in the GTA, right?
Well, to be fair, I am physically located in Vaughan. I have quite a number of clients in Vaughan, and I am presently looking to expand further into York region.
Good stuff. That's great. So we've all had challenges in business. Maybe you can let us know what one of your biggest challenges were while you were doing what you're doing right now.
Sure. So I think for me over the years, time management has been the biggest challenge. Trying to build my business while still building my family. And that challenge has taken many iterations over the years. Everything from having to give up sort of technical role, which is like an on-call rotation for emergencies overnight, to purchasing or hiring, accounting, sort of giving all that up to staff and sort of the day-to-day business stuff. And as I go through each of those iterations, trying to make sure that the business and sort of the principles and the base that makes it something special remains as I become abstracted away from those pieces.
Well, thank you for sharing. I understand those challenges just as much as you've been going through them. That's pretty normal thing for us to have time management problems or challenges. Let's pretend we can go back in time right before you started doing your IT services. Knowing what you know now, what's one piece of advice you'd give your former self?
Robert, I think I would come back to the time management being my biggest challenge. I would probably hire a personal assistant sooner. I would probably hire full-time staff or sales staff sooner. I think that those two changes would have allowed me to grow faster, be more successful, be ahead of where I am today. Not to say that I'm not successful, but would have just put me that much further ahead.
Absolutely, I can hear that. Uh, Take me to a time when you thought, wow, I'm making a difference. Tell me about that story.
We did a job about 5 years ago now where we implemented e-records, so that's electronic record keeping at North York General Hospital. We were responsible for the back end IT systems that make that work, and it's something that touches every department in the hospital, from the pharmacy to the surgeons, from admitting through to ICU. And it was really amazing watching after all the training was done, and we were starting to get metrics back from the management staff in the hospital, and they were saying things like nurses were able to spend 10 or 15% more time with patients than they were before, and it was being attributed directly to the system that we had implemented. And so that meant that even though the budgets were shrinking, the nurses were able to spend more time overall with their patients due to the work that we had done. It was a pretty fantastic feeling.
Oh, that's good. Thank you for sharing that. Um, Now I want to dig a little bit deeper. Take some time on this one. Imagine you're dropped on an island where on this island there's no other businesses like yours. List all the benefits, like maybe five or so benefits that you can list from them using your services.
So, Robert, on this island where I'm the only IT company, I'm pretty excited because I get to set up a natural monopoly, and it's quite an amazing position to have. So, one of the things that I would do is we would make sure that everyone knows that we're a one-stop shop for IT services. Come to us; you don't have to go anywhere else. We'll handle all of your IT. We'll definitely implement our slogan, which is doing IT right the first time. We'll make sure that we're always on the cutting edge of technology, cutting edge not just on the island, but worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
We'll make sure that we're providing cost-effective IT services that don't blow your budget. We'll make sure that we're always continuing with our personal touch, and that means a single point of contact for all the IT needs of a business, and that we're in touch with the community, and really that means giving back, whether it's sponsoring sports teams or working community events, just making sure that we are in touch with business in the community and always giving back.
That's fantastic. Um, this is a question for you. Think of an internet resource or app like Google Calendar or Evernote that you could not live without. What is it?
Okay, one mainstream one and then one really techie one.
Sure.
My mainstream app is by far and away Google Apps for Business. That's sort of the platform we use for email and for productivity, and I can't even imagine life without it. It is the thing that I do first thing in the morning, and frankly, the last thing I do before I go to sleep. It is just so super important. And my geeky answer is a program called ConnectWise, and that's the software that we use internally to manage the business. And it does everything from sort of sales and opportunity management through to our service desk, our project work, our marketing. All of it's tracked in this single piece of software out in the cloud, and it really makes us a lot more productive than some of the other IT service providers that are out there today who haven't really put in the necessary investment to leverage software such as ConnectWise.
I want you to leave our audience with one parting message. Name like a book you've read or a quote that you live by that's helped mold you.
So there's a Demi Lovato quote: "Where I am today, I still have my ups and downs, but I take it one day at a time, and I just hope that I can be the best I can possibly be. not only for myself, but for all the other people out there who need someone to look up to. And that's something that I sort of live every day for. I always remind myself that whoever I'm talking to, whether it's a staff member or a young person in the community, that I was there too, and potentially they're looking up to me, and I want to make sure that I am there to help them and really encourage them to be successful in their lives as well.
That's great. I really appreciate you sharing that information, or that quote, I should say. I really want to thank you for joining us today. How could our listeners get a hold of you?
So if you want to get a hold of me personally, I can be reached at Mike, M-I-K-E, at fusioncomputing.ca. If you want to get a hold of the business or for a quote, you can reach us at sales@fusioncomputing.ca.
Okay. And your website?
www.fusioncomputing.ca.
That's great. I will have all that information in the show notes as well, so people can go check it out anytime. I really appreciate you coming on, Mike, and I want to thank you for sharing that information and information about your business.
Thank you very much, Robert. Thanks to you as well.